One Piece Odyssey is a game that I don't think a lot of fans expected to be a JRPG, but we're certainly not opposed to the idea when it came to its release. We've had our fair share of hacking and slashing from the Pirate Warrior series, to the open arena fighting from Burning Blood, all the way to the open world exploration from World Seeker. It's a nice change of pace having an anime game dive into a different genre of gaming from time to time. This time around with the involvement of the writer of the series, the GOAT himself, Oda. He's written up a story for the game that was easily on par with what he's created for the series. From what I can tell, if this story was canon, it would take place around the Zoar time period, with the Straw Hats sailing to their next voyage. As they begin to approach their next destination, they quickly end up shipwrecked on a mysterious island called Wofford. Waking up on the island, Luffy and the other Straw Hats begin to recollect themselves and explore Wofford, while also fighting various creatures that inhabit the area. All seems to be pretty normal in the grand scheme of things, but of course, this is One Piece. And if I've learned anything from the series, it's that normal is not in Oda's dictionary. And shortly after the Straw Hats have begun exploring, a big ass fire Colossus comes out of nowhere and starts problems. But they beat its ass with little to no problem anyways, cause they're the main characters. Of course, the true problem is introduced with the two new characters that live in Wofford, Lim and Audio. Lim has this mysterious ability that allows her to take the memories from anyone she touches, and she ends up doing so to the Straw Hats out of self-defense, thus causing them to lose most of their abilities from the very beginning. In order for the Straw Hats to recover their memories, they have to revisit events from their past with the assistance from Lim's mysterious abilities in Memoria. As she joins them on their adventure, you slowly begin to learn more about Lim and her powers, which didn't actually come from meeting a devil fruit. Outside of Memoria, there's also dungeons the Straw Hats must visit to fight the different types of Colossus to open more parts of the island. And with the help from Audio, he assists you with fighting the Colossus with his grab devil fruit powers. It's a pretty overpowered ability, and it sucks that he's a non-canon character, cause he'd be a huge help in a lot of the adventures from the series. I really like the fact that the game has to revisit old arcs from the story because it almost felt like a love letter to the fans that have supported Oda throughout the years, with of course some slight changes from the scenarios that happened. Because, let's be honest, the Straw Hats aren't going to remember 100% of the things that happened on their journey. Hell, I can remember the last time I did my laundry. If you haven't seen or read One Piece, I'd say you can still enjoy the story for what it is. The game does this thing where it takes its time to summarize the events that have happened during these arcs and the different characters that have appeared in them. And of course, there's more than just the story. There's the combat as well. One Piece Odyssey is a JRPG that takes a unique approach to its combat system. The way that it's set up, you and your party are all placed in different areas facing different enemies on the map. Once you defeated the enemies in an area, you can join your other party members to defeat the other opponents on the map. However, you aren't limited to only attacking enemies in your area. The skills that you have can also vary from short range attacks to long range attacks to assist your teammates from afar. Each skill that is used costs skill points. In this game, it's called TP, and depending on the type of move that you use, will vary the cost. In order to recover your TP, you can either use items, or just simply beat the crap out of your opponents with your basic attacks to receive a certain amount back. There's also type advantages that Odyssey has included, similar to other JRPGs like Fire Emblem. Power beats speed, speed beats technique, and technique beats power. There's also different weaknesses and status elements that you and enemies can do to each other that can change the tide of the battle. I really like the fact that the developers didn't shy away from letting some of the movesets be silly, because it really helped illustrate the different personalities of the Straw Hat Pirates, like most of Usopp's movesets. But let's be for real, put some respect on God Usopp's name. If you get hit by his 10-ton hammer, it's GG's. Usually it doesn't pop, but anyways. The game also grants special team attacks called Bondards, which causes devastating damage to your opponents depending on the move. Rather than the moves costing TP, you're required to use Bond Charge, which is something you level up throughout your matches. Each Bondard has a unique moveset to them, and the different matchups from those in your party create some interesting what-if scenarios we've never seen before in the series. My main complaint when it comes to the combat, however, is the fact that it was too easy. There were way too many instances where I would fight random enemies in the game, and didn't feel the least bit worried that I'd lose. Not an ounce of sweat dropped from my face as I would beat the absolute crap out of those monkeys. Same could be said for the boss battles. Now, I'll admit, there were a couple instances where a party member of mine would faint, but I've never actually gotten a game over. Heck, I don't even know what the game over screen looks like. After every battle, you win money, items, and XP for you and your crew. For certain instances, there are even objectives during your combat where you need to defeat an enemy based on a specific task. Once that task is complete, you get bonus rewards, which honestly is another reason why the game is so easy. And the way you encounter all these creatures and bosses is simply through exploration. I feel like the thing that One Piece Odyssey did a really good job at was creating an environment for the different areas that the Straw Hats were able to explore. In the game, you and your crew are able to explore the island of Waford along with a couple of areas from their memories, like the kingdoms of Alabasta and Dressrosa to the city of Water 7. Marineford is also visited, but during the story you don't really get a chance to explore since it's a battlefield. But you do get a chance to revisit and check out its city area afterwards. Everywhere you went felt like its own thing, and the scenery that the game presents really made me feel like I was in the world of One Piece. Especially since I was playing on the PS5, the graphics on this game looked beautiful. As you would explore, you're able to roam as the different members of the Straw Hats, each with their own and sometimes similar abilities. Whether it's Luffy being able to stretch and maneuver around the map, or Chopper being able to fit through tight spaces, or even Zoro and cutting through steel bars and crates. The options were available, except for Brook and Frankie. They could only be used during combat. Like I mentioned earlier, the maps have different enemies located everywhere for you to interact with. To initiate the battle, all you have to do is run up on them or even run into each other. They can also run up on you, and that was pretty terrifying to say the least.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Within the cities and towns that you visit are also the different shops and citizens that can be found there. Within the shops, you can buy different items to help you during your journey, and even throw parties as well for you and your team to rest at. You can also have a party at any campsite you come across. And by setting up camp, you can visit Sanji to make you different meals, and Usopp to make you different tools as well. There's even save points located all over the place that will fully recover your health, and fast travel areas where you can make your exploration much faster when needed. And it was needed, especially during the game's side quests. Besides the story, One Piece Odyssey also has a sizable amount of side content that really helps shape the game. You could help the citizens that live within the town areas, capture bounties that are listed in restaurants, or even travel through fractured memories within Memoria for the Straw Hats to fix and deepen their bonds, thus granting them their bond arts. I think it's nice that we were given a large variety of side quests to follow, and it really expanded on the world as well, preventing it from feeling empty and soulless. However, I wasn't that big of a fan of all the delivery missions that require the Straw Hats to travel all over the map just to complete them. Especially during my time in Alabasta, where the missions would constantly have you travel through the big ass desert just to find a certain item. A big chunk of my gameplay came from Alabasta, and it felt like a drag whenever I did the next side quest and being asked to look for a precious photo. Thankfully, those quests weren't as heavily involved later in the game, but I could definitely see why this story takes a while to fully complete if there were people that were interested in the missions. I did like bounty hunting because most of the people you come across were pretty funny characters that no one really should take seriously, and gave a different perspective on what it's like to hunt bounties like Zoro from his early days. Plus, the money was always worth it. Huh? Oh. Earlier, I mentioned how easy the game is due to how rewarding Odyssey becomes when winning battles and completing objectives, but simply leveling up is just the tip of the iceberg. Cube fragments are bits of each person's memory that are randomly placed all over the different maps of the game. Once you collect a cube, you can go into the game's menu to level up your skills to make your characters much stronger. But wait! There's more! Not only can you use cube fragments to level up your skills, you can also equip different accessories for your characters to boost their attributes and give certain buffs as well. So by the time you're entering your third or fourth memory, the game becomes pretty simple outside the major boss fights. I really enjoyed my time with this game, and I'm glad that it didn't end up just being another anime cash grab like what we've seen in the past. And I really hope to see this series continue on with further improvements in combat difficulty and side quests. The way the story was written really could only have been made with the involvement of Oda himself, because it truly felt like another story arc from the One Piece series. If this were a movie, it honestly would be a pretty good one, especially with introducing two new characters that had their own story that was just as interesting and made me want to see what happens next to them. With how beautiful the environments looked and how fun the gameplay was, to even how emotional it made me feel, I genuinely think if you're a fan of One Piece or even a fan of JRPGs in general, you'd probably enjoy this game for what it is. I will say this though, it is a bit more rewarding for those that are actually caught up to the series, but if you don't mind the spoilers or even haven't even seen the series itself, then by all means, check it out. I think this game is headed in the right direction, and hopefully we continue to see more anime games take a different approach from Arena of Fighters. But with that being said, if you already played the game, what are your thoughts on One Piece Odyssey? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, who's your favorite One Piece character? Mine is between Zoro and Law. With that being said, if you enjoyed watching this video, make sure you leave a like, share with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel. I hope to see you guys in the next review, and of course, take care everybody.